Hello, WordNerds, and happy Sunday. Today is the last Sunday of 2014, which is crazy in and of itself. But tonight we're going to be talking about Kiera Cass's The Selection series, The Selection, The Elite, and The One. Look at these paperbacks here and all of their ruined glory. We're going to start tonight's chat with a general overall rating of the series, and then we'll get further into detail talking about breaking down the books from book 1 to 3 later on in this chat. And on my leftmost part of the screen is Emma.
Okay. I give like the whole series probably like a 4. I definitely liked the first 2 better than the third one. I think I like progressively liked them less as they went along, but still couldn't put them down. So I liked the first one best.
Erin?
I'll say 4 as well. The first one I enjoyed the most, I think, and then by the end of 2, I was starting to get annoyed with the repetitive plot issues, so the stars went down for me then, from a 5 to a 4 probably, but again, I couldn't put it down either.
Kelly?
It was a solid 4 for me. I'll get into details later, but I don't know. Ups and downs, but I really, really, really liked the series.
Megan?
4s across the board. I think I started them all 4 on Goodreads. I really liked it. I didn't think it was amazing, but I really liked it.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything like literary. It's not like some like literary masterpiece or anything.
Yeah, it's not a game changer by any
candy
stretch.
But it's a fun story, yeah.
Yeah.
And I gave all of the books, surprise, surprise, 4 stars. I feel like we are all unanimous on the 4 stars on this front. Like we said already, it wasn't like the best thing I've ever read, but also I could not put it down to save my life. And I read this during my finals week, so I really did need to put it down.
Yeah. How fast did all of us read it?
3 days, 1 day per book.
Yeah, a few
like
days.
2 days.
I can't remember exactly,
1.5.
I started early, so I tried to like spread it out, but it was like a day per book, but I spread the days out of it, I think.
Yeah.
I think it took me a total of 4 days. Like, the first book took me the longest to read, and then book 2 I just tore through, and I started... I started book 3 that night, and I stayed up late and woke up early the next day to read it. It was a problem.
I think I read it in 2 days. I'm pretty sure Kiera Cass is actually a witch.
Yeah.
She put like a spell over this book.
Yeah. I was like partly afraid too because I hadn't read any of it yet, and it was like the week of, and so I was afraid I wouldn't have it done in time.
Yeah, same.
House. So I was like, I just gotta get it done.
It was not a problem.
Yes.
Definitely got that done ahead of time.
The thing is, I even picked it up earlier. Like when we first announced we were doing the series, I bought the books in paperback so I could read them early and be like ahead of things. But I started reading The Selection and just didn't get into it on the first couple pages, and I was like, I'll wait for this. But then when I picked it up, what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago? Read it all.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
So we will start this chat with talking about book 1, The Selection.
I like never have the books. I'm so excited to be able to hold it up.
So pretty. Over Santa. So we all gave this pretty much 4 stars across the board too, or Erin, did you say 5?
No, I said 4 for the whole series, so still probably 4 for each one, I think.
So the premise. It's kind of Hunger Games meets The Bachelor, but
pretty much.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the Hunger Games and Matched, the Match series. It was kind of like, it had a bit of like some rebels. It had, you're forced into this to get your family out of the caste system that they're in.
Boy from your past.
Boy from your past. This guy who's like the new guy who I'm like, but I like him better.
I really like Maxon a lot.
Yeah, you like his team Maxon?
No.
Maspin, Maspin was just a jerk.
Although I could get into to Maspin, if that's just Maspin.
I know, I was like, hey, they should just get together.
I feel like that would solve a lot of problems.
They would complement each other well.
Emma, I remember when you read it and we were talking about it in a post chat, you said, I was worried about what person she picked, but she picked the right person, so I'm happy. And I'm like, please let her have liked Max and more.
When you said that, I knew that I was going to like who she was.
I was like, oh, she better have picked Larry. I mean, like, she had to have, but what if? What if
she liked husband? Nope.
Nope. It's funny because I was like, I definitely was Team Maxon, but then towards the end of the second book, I was so annoyed by their will they, won't they crap that I was just like, just go away and stay single almost.
Yeah.
Like,
I had some real
irritated.
problems with how Maxon developed.
Yeah, and it was like really, you know how we talk about the whole, like, the problem with, like, it would all be solved if they just friggin' communicated.
Yes.
Like, there's so many YA books like that, and that was a huge problem for me in this series.
Like, so this isn't the first book, but the part where she, like, realizes that she loves him, and she's like, but I'm not going to tell him right now. It'll be my secret.
What is wrong with you? Just one conversation.
Fair. Like, everyone who's been in that point in a relationship doesn't want to be the first one to say it. Add in three other girls who are however many are at that point.
But I think it was the problem was that they were both like, I know that you're going to say it, and you know that I'm going to say it, but I'm not going to say it first. And it was like, just, why don't you say it or I'll stop you?
I don't think she knew he was going to say it at that point. Because Chris was a player.
I felt like it was like very obvious that he like loved her all along and stuff, and he was waiting for her. But then when she realizes she loves him, she's like, but I'm not going to tell him. And
I agree with that.
Waiting for you.
Like he told her he'd pick her like ages ago.
Yeah. Say it and it's over. And it's like, just and it'll be over.
Yeah, I also feel like the situation they're in makes it so she needs to just say it, because like if he thinks she doesn't love her, then he might choose someone else, you know?
But I feel like there was still a contradiction at one point in the second book, maybe, or the beginning of the third, because she basically says, like, she doesn't say like, hey, it can be over, but she says, yeah, I will be your wife or whatever. And then he's like, oh, I still have to date the other girls or whatever, basically. Because I was like, what? He's up until now.
I
he's
feel
been
like
for the show.
Yeah, at that point it was like less of,
but
I'm not going to end it right now because I'm still unsure of you. It was more of, yes, but my father will be really pissed if I just call it off. So
I was just like, it really seemed like he was pulling for one thing, and then when she gave it to him, sort of, he was like, well, you know, at that point. And then I had another real issue in the second one when she suddenly is like, well, I never really loved Aspen, or like, I don't really love Aspen anymore. And I was like, what? You've been saying up until now that you love Aspen as well.
See, that was one
thing. And then it was just like, bam, I don't.
Though. I kind of liked that it was that like development of I thought I was in love, but now that I'm here, I realize that was just more of a situation.
But later that did happen. But there was one point where she's like, when she was still like torn between two of them, that she was like, I don't love Aspen. And I'm like, whoa, this came out of the left field rather than gradually. Like you've been saying up until now that you do. This is she says it and then it happens, where it needed to be the other way around, where she doesn't realize, or she does realize later that she doesn't love him anymore. I don't know, that was out of the left field for me.
So here was my problem with book one. My main problem was at the very beginning, I felt like the voice was, what's the word for it? Immature isn't the right word, but it was something it read really, really young. For me, for some reason, or like not even the voice of the character, just the just like not the character necessarily,
like
just
the writing itself.
Yeah, and that's why it took me longer to get into book one. I had to get past that point and get used to the voice, and I think once I settled into that voice, it was like I could move forward without it being an issue.
Yeah, which is sort of why when I downloaded the ebook for the middle one, I was telling, for anyone that's watching us now, I couldn't find the middle book in the bookstore, which drove me nuts because then I had to have 2 paperbacks and an ebook. But anyways, when I switched to ebook, because it's a different format and I'm not used to reading on the screen as much, it totally threw me back out of the writing. And then I found the first couple chapters awkward, and then, but eventually it did settle back into it, and like I said, read all night. But I definitely noticed the writing again But I think once you settle into it, I had a hard time getting into the first book for chapter 1 because I was so irritated by the gushiness between Aspen and her. I'm like, ugh, this is so sappy. But then it got
I didn't find the
collection.
sappy, but there was like some young writer stereotypes, I guess, that bothered me.
What do you
Like the
mean?
whole, she's like, oh, I'm not pretty, and everyone in the freaking world is telling her she's pretty and that everyone is in love with her. Like, I'd much rather like a character be a babe and just know that she's a babe.
Yeah, that was really good.
So like, I'm not pretty and I have no special talents except for I'm super gorgeous and can play.
I'm
can
super
sing.
great at singing, and I speak a couple different
Play the
languages.
violin.
I play like 7 instruments or something.
Yeah. So that was my biggest problem
Other
at
than
first. I was
that-
like, I can't relate to that. Like,
No. Well, thankfully, I don't feel like that continues later.
no, it definitely
on.
doesn't.
No, which is really good.
That's
No, at least later it's more of like she's comparing herself to the other girls, and it's like, I don't have that, I have this, so like,
but not that.
yeah. Which is realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Because
really like
girls
that.
do that all the time. Yeah.
So
And I think we do it as writers too. I know, like, I talk
for
to Kyra
sure.
all the time. I'm like, well, I can do setting, but Kyra can do dialogue so well. I told her that a billion times. If she's watching, she's like rolling her eyes.
it's definitely, I mean, book 1's definitely a slow start, and I think this
Yeah,
is a
it
series that you don't want to read slowly or really like with a critical eye. Enjoy it for what it is, and you will love it. Like, you have to let yourself just, it's a fun read. That's what I feel like it is. It's a nice, light, fun read.
You want, like,
Definitely.
it's one of those books you want to read on, like, a rainy or a snowy day when you, like, aren't leaving the house and you can just, like, curl up
And you have
on the
all
couch
3 of
and
them.
read all day. You know?
'Cause
Or
if
if
you
you
don't have
want to
all
be
3 of
like
them.
really, like it's a really girly feeling book, and not just because
for
of
sure.
the. It sounds like you're peeing. I'm sorry if you can hear this thing. It's not just because of the ball gowns on the front cover, but it's just there were a lot of times when I was like getting too girly for my own good. I was like, there were like high-pitched noises coming out of my mouth. It was like a really fluffy read. You know, like it's so nice. And there's conflict, but it's like it's the kind of conflict, and this is what I was going to mention before we started chatting, before I stopped myself. The reason I think I couldn't put it down, even with the issues that I had with the writing or the voice or the pacing, was because I kept wanting the conflict to resolve in the way that I wanted it to, and I wasn't going to stop reading until it did. And that would be the last page of the last book.
Yep. That's exactly what kept me.
Yeah.
For sure. I had kind of a problem I found with, at first, for the first book, I thought there was like a beautiful balance between the drama and backstabbing and everything between the girls, and then the sort of rebel plot line. Like I thought for the first
I
book
love that.
and for the first half of the second book, I thought there was a nice balance, and then it just got like way too dramatic between Maxon and her, and I was like, come on, let there be another rebel attack. Like I need something to balance out.
When do they
think
start
The angst
with the other
angst.
rebels?
Yeah.
When does the rebel thing step up?
The middle of the last book?
When she's in the red dress and she runs away and the girl like curtsies to her while she's in the tree. That's like the first time they really interact with the good ones.
Yeah, I think that like when you go into this series, you like have to know that it is like 100% a romance, or like 90% a romance and like 2% a dystopian. Like it's some dystopian drama, but it really is a romance. That's the whole point of the book.
And that was the thing I thought that made it like really stand out to me, like among all the other romance-heavy dystopias, was that like the world felt very realistic. I almost wished it was like a fantasy, like instead of a future America, because it just like felt so real that I thought it could have been like its own thing.
I do definitely think that if you go into this book expecting something other than pure romance, you're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Because there are other elements to it, but I think it is first and foremost a romance.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
don't turn this book down just because you hear the description of it's like The Bachelorette and The Hunger Games. Because that's what I first heard like years ago, and I was like, oh, not
I didn't
even.
Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah. No, I still would say The Bachelor, but yeah, with more of a Hunger Games spin. I just heard it as The Bachelor set in a dystopian world, and I was like, ew. But if you say sort of The Bachelor meets The Hunger Games, then because I also found really magnetized me to the story, and I couldn't put it down as well, is because the reactions of the people to the competitions, like what does the public think of her, what does the public think of her competitors, and like the polls and the magazines.
Every time America did something she wasn't supposed to do, that's when I was really into it.
Super
interesting. The world building really enhanced the story by giving America the whole show to cast.
I really wish there was more of because every turn I wanted to know, every time she did something outrageous, I wanted to know what does the public think of her. Like she redeems herself later, which is cool, but I wanted to know way more about that.
And there were two twists that I really, really wanted to happen that I had like in my head, because there were a couple twists that I like saw coming, but I had ideas that like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it was this? It would have been so much cooler. And one of them was at the end of the Elite when she does like that crazy project thing. In the end, Maxon just like gets her out of it. Like gets her out of being sent home, and I thought it would have been amazing if like instead of Maxon bailing her out, like they had to keep her because the people wanted her so bad after that.
Yeah,
like I wanted to see that, like the people really go in there for her.
That's the thing. I think that a lot of the issues I had were due to the fact that there was really awesome stuff, and there was stuff like that had so much potential, and then it always just came back to her and Maxon's love affair rather than like exactly what you said. It could have been something else really cool to do with the people and how sort of a almost rebellious feeling is forming, and then the king's, you know, lashing back at that through propaganda and stuff, because that had a lot of potential. And then I felt like the plot line with the king had so much potential for conflict.
It did. He was so creepy.
Yeah,
it was super creepy.
And I was so mad about how the third book ended because I thought it was such a cop-out.
I felt that there were a lot of convenient fixes, like you were saying when she gets sent home, and I was like, oh my god, no! And I was freaking out because like she's gonna get like how is this gonna happen for the next book? And then he's just like, oh, it's fine, I fixed it. I'm like,
it's fine.
Look, I am personally glad that you fixed it, but I feel like there should have been some other resolution that was less tidy, maybe. Something.
Yeah, or just the people wanting her would have amped up the conflict even more between her and the king.
Yeah, because then the king going to go against what the people want. No, he can't. So he's got to keep her.
Which maid was it that died at the end? Because that was a too fix for me.
Yeah, what's her name? Anne?
Anne.
Yeah, so the whole Anne likes Aspen, Aspen likes
Lucy.
That's what I got. You still have to kill her off.
I have feelings about that. How, like, it's super freaking obvious that he keeps trying to tell her that he's in love with Lucy, but they, like, prolonged it till the last possible
she's
minute.
Like, tell me.
He was going to end up with. It's like, no.
For me, that was more, like, because it was never a question of who he was going to end up with, although I also read the short story from his perspective, so that may have helped a bit. I think it was more, so I read that more as a reader of, I know what's going to happen, so even though it's America's perspective, I know something she doesn't know, and it's frustrating in that, but like a purposeful frustrating in that, just listen to him.
Yeah, see, I got frustrated because I was like, you should listen to him. Like, why are you being so rude right now?
That was the whole problem with through like a lot of the books is there was no communication. Like that was the major reason
less
why
people could have died.
So, favorite part of book one?
It's all kind of merged together in my head.
I think I really liked the first time that Maxon meets America.
Out in the garden when she thinks he's like trying to get his way.
I liked all of that beginning stuff, like the cakes to her sister and all of that, just like initial flirting was fun.
Oh, like the sister, like, did she cry? I like that part when they made the bet on air, and they're like, I bet she'd cry over this. It's like, you want to bet? What do you want? She's like, pants. If I win, I get pants.
And she lost, and she still got pants.
I liked her as a character, actually.
Get on with it.
Yeah.
that she asked for paint. That's pretty awesome.
So, Elite, or this section is done. Now we're moving on to the Elite, even though we're kind of like merging it all into one big chat. But now, specifically, the Elite. And we're going to start this time with our favorite scene.
I was going to say, the scene that sticks out for me with the Elite is obviously Marley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I couldn't call it a favorite scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough.
Does the Elite have the party with the Italians? Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the party.
The
with the
Italians.
Italians.
I really like the scene, the very last, one of the last chapters, where they get locked in the, like, panic room together.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just them, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And they get to actually have a talk.
Finally.
Let's get
So
some
that
conversation
so rarely
going.
happens.
Because
Like, I wish they'd been locked in there longer so they could have just finished it.
Yeah.
What else happened in the Elite?
trying to remember where it starts.
Halloween party.
Yeah,
The Halloween party was awesome.
Yeah.
The whole time, I
Oh.
just knew they were going to find that book in her piano thing. I don't know how no one found it. They
Yeah.
tear apart the
Yeah.
rooms a ton of times.
Yeah.
Well, didn't in the last one, didn't her father find where it was, the rebels?
Yeah.
Her father found it and told the rebels about it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised it wasn't found earlier. She kept it for too
Yeah.
long. She's like, I'll just borrow it for a couple nights. I'm like, you gotta
And I'll
get that
just
book
put it
back.
in my unlocked
Oh,
piano bag.
That was another thing that bugged me. The like convenient. I won't keep reading to see what happens next in this journal, but if I did, that would probably be valuable information. But it'll forward the plot too much, so I'm just gonna hold off reading this.
Mhm.
Read it in bits.
Yeah.
And I felt the need to start to skim some of those. Like, I read all of them.
I
but
did.
There
I
were some
did
that were
too.
really long, and I was just like,
Really boring. And
Yeah.
Like the letter that her dad wrote to her too. Like all the letters I felt like were just a little bit too long and a little bit too like mushy for my taste.
Yeah. Oh, and Maxim's letters. Maybe that was in the third book. But I skipped
yeah.
so
Yeah,
Third one, I
I
skipped over
I
them.
don't know what he said in any of those. I was like, I
So
don't
we
remember
read,
this.
you're like, come on.
The Maxim's letters in the third one, I went back and read them after I finished the book. Like, I, like, skimmed them because I was like, I just want them to get together already.
I
And then, like, after I finished, I was like, I'm going to see what he said.
Mhm.
I like them. But I was in a really sappy mood, so I was like, yes,
Is it in the
I was
second
not
one?
having it.
Or...
That's in the third one.
Third one.
Well, yeah, but is it the second or first one when Aspen's like, no, I don't think you'd make a good queen?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I didn't like him, like, from the very beginning when he was like, I don't like that you're giving me food because it, like, injures my manly pride.
Yeah.
But then, like, when he said that to her, I was like, no. And then her dad was like,
dumb.
And it's
do
the
it.
second one too where he shows up to the palace for the first time, right?
Yeah, and that, oh God, as soon as that happened, I was like, you have to tell Maxon now.
Now.
Now,
Yeah.
or there is no way you
We'll
can
talk
tell him
about that in the
ever.
book 3 discussion, but
It
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
made me mad though that they're like, you're not allowed like doing anything with anyone else or we'll cane the crap out of you, but you get to date all of the girls. Like, I know he's a prince. That ticks me off. That's why I don't watch The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Grr.
And I just hated how like Aspen never asked if America wanted any of his advances. Like
Yeah.
he's like, do you love him? And she's like, no. And he's like, oh, that must mean you want me
Great.
to jump in
I
bed and
got
hang
it
out
in.
with you.
Yeah, and like how he
None of
just
that.
walks into her room. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
she can get a death sentence.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
someone
Like, that really
finds you
bothered
in
me
there.
that he not only assumed that she wanted him, but also that he would, like, endanger
Endangered
that
her,
way.
yeah.
After what happens to Marley.
like,
yeah, right after what
If
happened
he
to
really
Marley,
loved her,
right,
he
let's
would
go
put her in
for
that
dates.
danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That bugs me.
Yeah. I've never like
Yeah.
felt physically ill while reading a book, but that made me feel like physically
Yeah, I
ill.
hate it too.
Get out of there, I
Caning
hate you.
No,
No,
the other
the
one.
Aspen
Like,
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like Aspen either.
So did you guys see the Marley thing coming?
I did.
No.
I did. And I knew
I
it
saw-
from the moment
I
that
saw something was gonna happen, but no, I thought she was gonna be bad. Like I
No,
thought she was
I
like
knew-
secretly lying.
I knew it was coming.
I
saw
knew the
it.
moment when America left the women's room or whatever
Yeah,
it was,
and, like,
she
runs
ran
into
into
the
the guard,
guard.
and he's
Yeah.
like, oh, hey. And because Marley's like, oh no, you go without
It
me.
felt
I'm like,
so
what, you
random.
suddenly don't have to pee?
Yeah.
Apparently, I wasn't very insightful to pick up
And
on
Marley's
that.
like, I don't really want to be with Maxon, but I don't want to leave. And you're like,
Yeah, it's like, why?
I figured out the
feelings,
exact
though.
same spot when she ran into the guard outside. I was like,
Yeah.
There it is.
I so should have picked up on that.
yeah,
I totally
like,
did
that's why she
it.
wants to stay.
I had
I
two
wanna read it
theories.
again.
Like I thought like there was a chance that it was the guard, and you know, wouldn't that be cute if she was in love with the guard? But I had this other theory that I thought would have been cooler, that she was like in love with a rebel and that she was a rebel, but she was feeling like she couldn't go through with it anymore because she didn't love Maxon and she was making friends and she just wanted to like be herself with these new friends. And that was why she didn't want to leave, and that like the guard was helping her and he was like keeping her on track. And I was like disappointed when that wasn't what was happening.
Opportunities to take different paths that were just kind of like, but this one's a little more convenient.
I definitely would have liked, if she had been a rebel, I would have liked that, because I wanted way more rebel stuff in there.
Yeah.
Just would have balanced it out more.
But
was just
she
like,
did
oh,
kind of do that secret rebel reveal thing with.
Yeah, I didn't like
great.
that. I didn't like that.
It just felt thrown in at the end to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with her
Probably-
father being a rebel. I was like,
There
you
needed to
didn't
be
leave
more
enough
hints
clues.
Yeah, it had to be peppered in better.
I wonder
I think
if
her
it
father was clued out a little bit better because there was like he had all these like old history books and all this stuff.
Yeah,
like,
true.
But
I wonder if it was because, like, I wonder if it's something she put in later because people did tell her there wasn't enough of a balance between the rebel plotline and.
it could
Because,
be.
like, when I finished
Chris
the
could be a
third,
rebel.
when I finished the third book,
you.
and if I didn't know there was another one, I'd be choked. Because what happened to the bad rebels that kill people? Like, their storyline just trails off, you know? So
Wait,
I'm
is there
glad
another
there's-
book beyond the third?
I thought there was going to
Yeah,
another one.
yeah, it's called The
Yeah.
Heir. It's Maxon and America's daughter doing her own selection.
Oh no.
be. Oh,
Oh.
seriously? I thought it was going to be about after they got married.
They're
and, like,
gonna
the
do a
rebels and
selection
stuff.
after what it put them through?
Really?
Yeah, what the hell?
Well, initially, females, they just get sold off. So I'd say this is an improvement, having 35 men of your own to
she
pick
gets
from.
to choose instead of just being sold off to like a royal.
That's
They
true.
were, I
Good.
still think that's bullshit though, because they were going to eliminate the cast and they were going to eliminate
mean
the
they're not going
selection.
to.
And
Well,
Yeah, 'cause the
it
selection
would
wasn't
take
based off the
time.
cast, really.
It would take time, but mostly I just like, I'll read it. You know I'll read it.
I'll
It's
probably still read it,
A
but
generation
I think that's
later.
dumb.
How it's changed. Like that,
Yeah.
to me, that's a little more interesting than a year later when okay, they've gotten rid of the lowest case, but it's going to take a few more years before they get it.
Yeah.
Like another generation will see so much; it'll be different.
So were you guys satisfied at the end with the Rebel plot line? How it was
yeah.
wrapped
Let's
up?
talk. Let's talk about the last book.
Yeah.
The one.
Please
First
do.
of all, can I
Pretty
just say
cover.
this that the titles kind of give away the plot line.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Just a little bit, like just the title and the cover together.
But I think
Although
we already
at that
knew
point,
that was going to
Yeah,
happen.
I couldn't really believe that she. Although it was spoiled to no end, really. Like Epic Reads talked about it all the time. And by the time I read the one, the heir had been announced. So I didn't think it was going to be Chris
I
and
hadn't
Maxon's
been
kid.
I hadn't been following it too much. I just heard
Yeah, I
what people were
hadn't
saying
either.
that it was so good. So I could guess what it was based on the plot line and the genre and everything. But the titles were really like when I
Very
pick them all up,
revealing.
I go from okay, so she's definitely making it to the elite and she'll make it to the one. So
Yeah. And they all lived happily ever after.
The end.
Okay, so the one.
the one.
Okay, I have this problem that extends from the elite to the one.
Tell
And
us.
it was with Maxon's character development.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the first book is where he kisses her. It's super romantic and super cute, and it's his first kiss ever, and it's adorable, and he's so, like, shy and tentative about it. And then partway through the second book,
Not Celeste.
he's, like, hardcore going at it with Celeste, and he's
Yeah,
like,
Celeste.
I have
Yeah.
needs. And it's like,
Yeah,
you didn't kiss a girl for
thank
25
you.
years, and now you have needs?
You have needs. That was the most bullshit excuse I have ever heard. If a real life guy told me that, I'd be like, bye.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay.
She's like, okay.
Oh, your needs. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a terrible excuse.
I'm sorry.
Well, I hated his excuse.
Genitalia.
Well, I did hate his excuse. Like, yes, he went off with Celeste, but she was off with Aspen all the time. Like,
Yeah, like I don't.
kind of like you're doing the same thing, and he didn't
It's
even
true.
know about it. You know.
Yeah, that's true. I still
I
feel
just
like
hate
the
his excuse.
excuse was
Yeah, I
bad.
hated his
Yeah.
excuse, definitely.
The excuse was
Like
bad,
if
and
he'd
it
been
was,
doing that with Chris or something, like I would have been like, okay, yeah, he has genuine feelings for
or if
her.
it had been less pervy
Well,
in
we
general.
didn't see Celeste the same way that we did until like the middle of the book when Celeste redeemed herself. But,
I
like,
really, really
we
liked
did like
Celeste though.
I
Like
just
from
had
the
a
beginning,
problem
I
with-
trusted her more than I trusted Marley.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
that.
She was
I
more
had
upfront
to-
about
Put a
things.
glass in people's shoes.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
but
pretty
you
rough.
I knew what to
She was
expect from
about-
her though.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could figure it out pretty easy. She was an open book.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There was
You
no
knew,
secret
like, oh,
for her.
you hate everybody here, and you're gonna do whatever it takes.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
By the one with the fun floor, like I really liked the scene where they sat in the bedroom and just kind of chatted, and it was more of a
Yeah.
sisterhood community feel to it.
Oh yeah, I loved that.
And I like, I can't remember if it's in the one or if it's in the Elite when they're all fighting and the queen is like, listen, like, these are going to be
Yeah.
your best friends for the rest of your life. Whichever one of you becomes the one, like, when you have hard times, these are the people you're going to call. You need to not fight with each other.
I'm getting like goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah, me too.
Like the girl power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really did like that, like, because that picked up in the second half of the series.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like the scene where they're all holding hands at one point. When I don't remember when it is. but
When they're
all
on the
like link
chairs,
hands.
yeah, getting
Yeah,
it.
and she describes the different sort of aspects of them, like Celeste is the diva and stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm
I
Aw.
have goosebumps.
Me too. I loved all the girl relationships in this.
Yeah.
Like it felt really realistic. Like there was that competition, but you could tell like they were gonna be BFFs. They were
Yeah.
meant to be BFFs.
And I was glad that it did end up that way rather than just being like cutthroat and like
Yeah.
backstabbing the whole way through.
Mhm.
So she has female friends in this,
Yeah.
even though it is.
They
a
were the
romance.
true soulmates of this series.
Yeah. Exactly.
Celeste.
I love her.
Oh, Celeste.
Let's talk about Celeste's end, though.
That was quick.
I gasped out loud. I was like,
Yeah, same. So did I.
First of all, the moment that scene started, I was already annoyed because the whole, like, he was like, I'm going to propose to you, come the next
Yeah, that-
thing. And I was like, yeah, and then
we'll get to
Aspen, and she's all like, she's standing close to Aspen, and he rounds the corner and is like, how dare you? Like,
He's
oh.
like, this is the end of our relationship because you stood near the guard.
Over so quickly, and then he's like, how long? And it's like, you could have, first of all, you could have told him this forever ago when you first saw him, be like,
And she
hey,
talks
that's
about
the dude
it
to talk
as
about.
soon as I get home. Wait, not right now. I'll wait till later.
Oh wait, it's gotta be later. I'll get engaged to him, and then I'll tell him. No,
Yeah,
buddy,
Wait till it
no,
looks really
buddy.
bad.
Yeah, when she was like, when I get back, I'll tell him, and then there was that whole night that he stayed in her room, and she's like, oh no, I'll wait. I was like, something bad is going, like, he's going to find out about it because you're
Of
waiting.
course.
There was no way it couldn't end like that. Like, I would love for it to have not ended like that, like the Aspen storyline, but it's just how it happens in the
I think
most
it's just so
dramatic way
frustrating that
possible.
the lack of
Mhm.
communication is like the biggest conflict.
Yeah, which is
series?
frustrating.
And I hate that in any book. That was like my number one problem, well, one of my number one problems with Allegiant was just like one conversation would solve a
And this
lot
could
of
be
things.
over.
Mhm.
And it's just,
Yeah.
And I just
I'm all
hated
for
too
tension,
that
but
he got so angry and so verbally abusive. And
Yeah.
like some guy talks to me like that, he's never going to see me again.
mhm.
But
Okay,
they
but
have
what if you
one
had
near
legitimately
death.
been cheating on him?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But like
I think it was just so
he
out
has
of
a
his
near-death
character.
experience, and suddenly they're like, "It's okay, everything's okay. We're gonna be married and live happily ever after." Because he almost died and realized how much he loves me.
Well,
Like,
that's
I don't
the
think a
thing
near-death
about
experience
I
should
think-
change your heart.
that. I think it all ended too quickly.
Me too.
Like,
Yeah.
it was starting to happen, and then it ended. And I'm like, no, this is like the ramp-up part. We're
Yeah,
getting going, finally. Like, things are happening other than, like, will I, won't I, him or him? Should I say something or should I not say something? But it's just like that whole scene, that scene when the rebels are in the castle and they're like, boom, red armbands, we're shooting people. I knew something was up, obviously. She wrote that part of like something's off very well.
Yeah.
And as soon, like right before it happened, my mind clicked over. It was like, this is what it is. But the fact,
My mind didn't click over beforehand. They shot Celeste, and I was like,
Yeah, so sad.
my mind clicked
What's
over, but I
happening?
didn't expect that they were going to shoot Celeste.
No.
I was like,
But that's sort of how it would happen. I like how she did it. Because can you imagine if someone just got shot sitting
Someone
next
just,
to you?
like,
It'd be
picked up a
pretty
gun.
friggin' shocking. Yeah.
I have nightmares about that.
Ugh.
It's my #1 nightmare.
And then I think Aaron kind
Horrifying.
of touched on it before of like the king and queen dying.
Yeah,
Kind of
to me that was such a
That was very-
cop-out.
that was very
The
convenient.
fact they killed
Yeah.
the queen as well tapered it a little for me, that it wasn't just like the best possible scenario. Like there was
It
some
was
legitimate
convenient.
sacrifice there.
It was convenient, but it was
Convenient.
also likely because that's who they were trying to kill was the royal family.
Yeah.
So
I actually felt that the attacks, the rebel attacks, not the non-violent ones, but the violent ones, were a little random. They felt, and she even said that at one point, like, how are they getting in the castle so easily? How are they able to do this when there's so many guards? And that was never explained.
Yeah,
And
there
I
was
didn't
still
feel like it was.
like that.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was realistic, and I think it could have been it could have been done better and resulted in the king's death, so that it was more planned and less. Like, I guess they sort of planned it because they switched guards and stuff.
I mean, like there were ways that
I
you
don't
could
know.
explain it without giving it like a clear reason of, like, some rebel groups are disorganized and still manage to get things done. But like
Yeah.
we had to, I don't know, we had to believe it more, I guess was my issue.
Yeah,
that
it wasn't
it was the
believable.
convenience thing again of like,
exactly.
all right, okay.
I think if it had been built up and you dropped little hints, like, I felt like I should have read that thing where the king and queen died and been like, something clicked and been like, oh yeah, like all those things we read before was the rebels ramping up and like planning to assassinate the king, and that was the whole goal of their thing. But I didn't feel like that at any time in the story. I just felt like they were throwing rocks and killing guards because they're
There was
ticked
a
off.
scene where I think it was Maxon was talking about how, or someone was talking about how all they wanted to do was to kill the king and queen. I think it was the good rebel people. And like, we don't want that because if they're gone, we don't know that somebody else who's worse could step in.
Yeah.
So there was
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
conversation.
But that was just
They
like,
almost made it sound like they wanted it to be worse, though, and I have a hard time believing that any rebel group wants things to just get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would have been the opinion of the other rebel group. Like, I know they mentioned that, but I still don't feel like I saw it enough. Other than one random mention does not work for me.
I got annoyed that the last couple chapters were so fast and so many things happened.
Happened
like,
at
all
once.
of the action happened right there and only there.
Yeah,
and
true.
it was like, I'm not going
I
to
want
marry
more
you
of this.
because
This is
you're
good.
leaning against Aspen, and now I'm going to marry Chris. And then we're at the table, and I'm going to be a real dick the whole time and make it quite obvious that I hate you, and we are so done. But then the rebels come out, I'm going to jump in front of a bullet and be like, I love you, I always loved you, I'm sorry, I almost made the worst mistake ever, oh my god, forgive me, and she'll be like, no, babe. And then Aspen's like, I'll save you, and he's like, take her, leave me behind, and then she's in the panic room like,
Recap by Erica of the last
You should just do a series of vlogs where you just summarize books.
Memorize it.
You know what? It was like everything, and it was so dramatic. And I'm all about being dramatic, but it was almost like melodramatic, hyper melodramatic.
I also didn't like the fact that, like you said, he had like a personality transplant because he's supposed to be like this sweet, amazing guy, and then he catches her hugging this dude, and it's like, you're the worst, and like, I don't know, can't even remember what else he said that was really hurtful.
Well,
and
and I
horrible.
don't think it was just. I mean, if she'd just been hugging some like random guard, I don't think he would have acted the same. But I think he like had suspicions. the whole time.
Like they kind of
Right.
He knew there were, because he would always be like, so you just sort of knew this guy from like your hometown.
Which
or whatever.
still,
you know, like he was always
like, you just like pushed Celeste up against the wall and like basically made love standing up, and then he's getting mad at her, and it's like, yeah, okay. I don't know if you can really be that mad.
Upfrontness.
Yeah,
I guess
for like
that's
a
true.
year.
Like,
I suppose.
that's the thing with, as much as I don't watch The Bachelor, I would never. These girls signed up for this.
Yeah.
They knew what they were
And
getting
even if she was pressured into it, he also said, the moment you don't want to be here, tell me and I'll let you go home. I don't want you staying here if you don't want to be here.
Yeah.
So she could have
I
said,
guess so.
I am uncomfortable with you kissing other people.
I still
I'm
think if
going
someone
home.
is like a genuinely nice person, if they get really mad, like I don't know, there's things
They
I
don't.
wouldn't
Yeah, the
say.
personality doesn't go out the window.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
was my issue. Was that
he
it
turns
was
into a dick.
there's one thing about being hurt and betrayed versus being just like a bad person or like suddenly really, 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 really mean or spiteful almost. And I get like flashes of spiteful throughout the hurt and guilt, but it was like heavy. It was heavy spite.
Full throttle.
Really,
Although,
really
again, to be fair, this was the night before he was going to propose.
That's true. He had his back up in his pocket the whole time. But it was also not like he was playing it just for her. And
He
it's
was
like, I got rid
kissing
of
her, too.
everybody except for this other chick who you know I'm not going to pick. It was like, she's a viable option. And I quite like her, so just let me know if you actually want to be with me or not, because I could marry her instead.
Yeah, but I feel like even at the point where this is the thing that bothered me, even at the point where she did say, like, yeah, I'll be your queen, like, let's do this, he's still like, okay, I'm just going to go date this chick.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that
Very
did
insecure
irritate
person
me,
in a lot of
because they
ways.
seesaw so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the end of book 2, The Elite. She kind of ends it with like, oh, I'm going to win him. This is going to be it.
Yeah.
I admit that I like him, and I'm like, finally. Finally you admit. She's like, I'm going to get him, and now we'll see what it's like with me actually trying. Let's talk about the actually trying scene with the red dress.
That was hilarious.
That was amazing.
I think,
At
to
her.
be fair to Maxon, if someone I was in love with treated me the way America treats him through, like, 2 books, I would be pretty insecure, too.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, like,
Possibility there.
like, I want to be your queen. He's like, I'm still going to keep Chris around as an option because
you change your mind every other
like,
day.
never mind.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like she was saying, oh, I like the Halloween ball when they were together, and I think that was book 2, and she was saying how much she loved it. Well, I don't think she said loved him, but you know, she's like, I could
really,
do this.
really, really liked him.
I could really, really be queen because I really, really like you. And he was like, yeah. And then,
And then he
the next
asked her
day,
dad for...
yeah, and then the next day Marley's caned, and she's like, never
yeah.
mind, I hate you. And I'm like, look, I understand being mad at him. I get it. It's terrible. But listen to one thing he has to say, and maybe you won't, like, throw
The
everything.
fact that he's
Yeah,
actually
that she, like,
sneaking
wouldn't
Marley
even
and
listen to
her
him.
guard away. Yeah.
Like, that was, it's like communication. It's like a couple of sentences would have solved the entire conflict of the book.
It's like America never wanted to listen to anyone when they wanted to tell her something. You know?
It's like a very real problem that lots of people have. I just,
True.
it's not my cup of tea when it's the main conflict of a book.
If it's like the only conflict, is what I felt. Like there was some other things, like smaller things, like tension with the girls who are also dating him, or
The king
sometimes
felt
the
like a
rebels.
fair-sized
The
conflict.
king,
Yeah.
which is why the
But he
ending
wasn't
made
there
me
enough.
so mad. There was no resolution to the king conflict,
Yeah.
and he wasn't there enough. He had potential to be such a great conflict and such a balance to will
I
they,
think
won't they,
it would
blah
have
blah.
been like really interesting if America had had some hand in that. Like instead of just be like, oh, surprise, the king is dead. If like America sees some guy going for him and steps out of the way or something, and like inadvertently causes the queen's death and he dies because she wasn't
Boy, that would
in
have
the way.
been something to
Something-
feel guilty about.
Something that like she would have not been locked up helpless the entire time.
Yeah, that was
Or-
annoying.
Or even if it was just more conflict with the king where more people are watching her specifically, like he places more guards and she can tell that they're only watching her.
Yeah.
And not, like Maxon's guards that he's friends with or anything, they're like the king's guards. Something like where she feels him hovering even when he's not there. Yeah,
It's
something-
funny because now that I know there isn't actually a 4th book to do with like dealing with the rebels and stuff, like that really irritates me that I felt like I was left hanging, seriously. Because like the deadly rebels are just gonna go away now that there's a new
We don't
king.
know that. No, because they wanted to get rid of the monarchy altogether. The
Yeah,
other rebels were...
So I
So
feel
they
like
may
that
still be in the
kind
new book. Who knows? It just takes
Okay.
place like
If that
16 years
actually-
later or something.
Yeah, if that actually is resolved, then I'll be happy. That's probably why I'll end up reading it. But
Yeah.
if it's the same plot line over again, that will be kind of annoying. If it's just the selection
Is it
again.
from the perspective of the daughter?
I think so.
Because I think I read these fast enough that I'm definitely gonna pick it up and read it.
Oh, I'll still read
I love
it.
these enough.
I'll still read it.
I'm kind of
It'll be
interested
interesting
to
to have
see like a person who has just
dudes.
like a platter of men.
Yeah.
That's like very objectifying.
A platter of men, a buffet. Wow, I got excited.
Yeah.
Because she's probably going to be like Maxon, like not have been like exposed to many men in her life, just like
Yeah.
Maxon really has
Yeah.
known that many girls.
And then
all
just
that.
like Maxon helped pick out the men, or America, like the king did with
Yeah.
picking out the selection girls, and that'd be
That'd be interesting.
Maybe she picks a planted rebel.
Yeah,
all over
there
that.
you go. Yeah.
One
So
of
There
the-
has
so
to
it's
be
supposed to be
another
2
plot
books
line.
instead of 3, so it'll be a more condensed
That would
story.
be. I'm all over that.
As long as there's more
I'll read
conflict
it
than
for
just
sure.
like, you know,
A triangle.
This one or this one?
communication
Obviously,
conflict.
there's going to be more than a triangle, but I hope
Yeah.
I hope it's not like I hope it doesn't just revolve around 2
Yeah.
dudes and her.
And I hope
like
it's
I
not
hope there's
like
more.
one of the guys versus the guard. Because then it's like the exact same dynamic.
Yeah,
Or-
exactly. I'm sure it'll be something different. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I
I
will read
trust
it. There's
Kiera.
no-
I trust her.
I think so. Yeah. Even though there are a few things that fell flat for me, I still think that it's going to be another all-night read.
Yeah,
Probably.
definitely. Can't put down an all-night read.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
One
much
that I'll
as
be like
I-
looking forward to. Like I haven't had a good
Yeah.
book that I've been really excited to buy in a while.
So true. Yeah. I definitely liken it to something like potato chips or something. Like it's not like super good for me, but I can't stop like stop eating them. Not that it's fattening, so that's a bonus, but
Yeah.
it's not
Unless you're eating chocolate
Tolstoy,
the whole
but-
time you're reading it.
Which
yeah,
I was.
okay, it's
Happened.
Christmas, and I was doing that for sure. So chocolate oranges, okay, they're so good.
Oh,
They're so
it's
good.
an orange. It's a fruit. I don't care if it's
Right. It
fruit.
tastes
I,
like
I heard the word orange in it, so
We're good.
sounds
Must
like
be good for me.
I feel like the only big thing we haven't talked about is America's dad dying.
So sad.
Yeah, that's true.
I hated
Yeah.
the way that he died.
I thought
but
the
I
king
liked
was going to
that
be
he
behind
died.
it for sure. Did no one else
Yeah.
think that?
I would have
totally
liked that
thought
to have.
I wanted a deliberate choice.
Yeah.
Or like to
Mhm.
find his body with the rebels or something. So it's like revealed sooner or something. Like
The
drama.
problem with that would have been that America would have been kicked out of the competition, I'd assume, by the
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it would have had to be like the king's like, I need you to kill him. And then like
Yeah.
or he's like
Mhm.
jumped by rebels or
I
something.
think it should have been something like the king threatened her, like with her family, like you need to back down, or I'm, this is gonna happen to your family, and then her being like, I'm gonna be brave, and then having her father die, and was it the king? Was it
Yeah.
just a heart attack? Like that
Have the
would be
plot driven by
huge.
her. Like make the heart
Yeah.
attack less obviously a heart
And
attack.
then
maybe.
if you combine that with, like you guys said before, stepping out of the way and being like, go ahead and kill him, then that would have been a huge thing,
We
right?
could have made
And-
this
Yeah.
series amazing.
Yeah, why weren't we the beta readers?
Kiera Cass, we are available.
Yeah. If you
Yeah,
ever
to
want me to read
rewrite your
anything
book
for you
series, I'm
early.
sure she's gonna take that up. Take
I
us up
also
on that for sure.
Found her brother too stereotypically bad. Like he's just
Yeah.
there's nothing more to him.
I actually found him really engaging, and he had me turning pages, and I wanted to see more of like what happened with that. I wanted to see more of a
I
revolution.
hated him.
I hated
Yeah.
him too.
He was just
I hated him too, but I found him fascinating, and I wanted more to come of that. Like I
I like
wanted there
the
to be
whole-
a final confrontation.
Yeah, the whole he gave me his house, I don't understand. Like that it just seems so done before. I don't like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think my main issue
Not
was
very
that he wasn't around enough to be a
Percy,
major
that's what I
conflict, and he
thought.
just like every time he was around, he's just like, I'm a spoiled brat because I have moderate success in the art world.
Yeah,
then
I
he
feel
leaves.
like he.
And
I
then
feel
he's
like
around,
he
he's like,
needed.
did you mention me? And then he left. It was like a character.
Yeah,
it would have been more interesting to have him show up at the castle at some point
Yes.
and have his like social climbing be uncomfortable for everybody.
Yeah,
I would have
perfect.
cringed
Yeah.
so hard.
He needed a more central like role in the plot. If he was gonna be there for conflict, he can't just be there and then gone and then there and then gone. Like he needed to have a
only for conflicting scenes. You know, he
Yeah.
had to be there for
He needed
other
a purpose.
scenes.
Yeah, he
Something
didn't
other
have a
than just,
purpose.
Like, if he'd been, like, really
Costco.
against, like, he knew his dad was a rebel or something and was really against it, and that was why he, like, originally distanced
Something,
himself,
yeah.
and, like, they thought he was really self-centered, but that was why.
Mm-hmm.
Something
Although,
that-
who knows, like, maybe he'll show up
level.
later when she's
Ooh,
queen,
I would
right?
love
Yeah,
for
because
him to
now
be
he
there
is
later.
a 1 or to 2 or something. He
He's a
got what
king.
I was
He's up
always
there.
looking for.
So he could, like, show up at the palace and, like, cause trouble for the next election or, like, cause trouble for America. Like, I hope he's in it. Like,
I
wanna
would
see what
love to
happens.
see more of him.
Because,
Yeah.
the Queen's family came to visit, so
Yeah.
America's family should.
Yeah, I just think he needed another level to him, and I would have
Yeah.
been fine.
Mhm.
It just felt like that was
That was
all
my
that there
issue.
was. It was just a really superficial, like.
Because he wasn't developed enough to me. Like, if he had actually had a role in the story other than popping in and out to cause drama, I think he would have felt more developed if he actually had a function within the plot.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? Maybe that was just
May,
foreshadowing.
though. I loved May so much.
Yeah.
She read a little younger, I think, than she actually was. Wasn't she supposed to be,
Yeah,
like,
how old-
15?
Yeah.
Yeah, she read.
She felt
like
like 12.
Yeah, definitely.
She was just like
But I
very,
still
like,
loved her.
and I'm like, that's great. I love that character because she was so different from America's. That America's more like I'm a girl, but I'm not a girly girl. And May's like, but I am. Rainbows. But it was. She definitely did read younger. Like every
Yeah,
time I
way
read
younger.
her, any of her dialogue, it was always like, America. This is America.
I thought she was. I didn't realize she was supposed to be 15. I thought like 12.
I find that a lot in books, though. Like, people never write people the age they're supposed like younger kids. Like, it's always too babying them or too, like,
Or too
always
old.
goes
Or they're too
there.
old. Or,
Yeah. I think
But I
a lot
loved her.
Yeah, she was definitely like needed to sort of balance out America's personality and for some lighter moments.
Yeah, and I feel like she'd definitely make an appearance in the next series.
Yeah, I think
except
so.
when
Yeah.
America doesn't have May around.
She might
Yeah.
be friends with America's daughter. That'd be cool.
Yeah, like the cool aunt.
Oh, I've got another super first level complaint about this book. I cannot get used to America as her name. So
Oh, yeah.
I thought that I would, like,
I
when I
liked
first
it.
heard it, I'm like,
I liked it.
America, and I was like,
Really?
oh, I'll
I
get
didn't
used
like
to
it.
it. I'll get used to it.
And
I
like
didn't.
that kind of speaks to her dad being a
I was about to say, yeah, that's like a hint to what her dad is.
Yeah, and I
named
thought
her
that,
America.
but I still, like, I don't know. It was just weird to me the
I
whole
didn't
time.
like it
Every
either.
time he used the name, I was like, what? Oh, right.
Well, with the whole America singer, I was like, really?
Yeah, that was
Weird
a little
name.
too on the nose. America.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah, but the
I liked
last
it.
names were on the nose on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You are what you are.
yeah,
It was
but
just-
with the America combined with that, it was too much for me.
Mhm.
I was not
I
a
saw
fan.
some people on Goodreads had complained about like the names overall. That they thought like all the names were too frou-frou or whatever, but
They definitely
for some
seemed
reason like I really liked them.
I liked Aspen and I liked Maxon, but there were a lot of names that I could tell were like the labored names where like she spent a while trying to come up with names and maybe look through like the baby name website forever and was like, that's the one.
Yeah.
The labor names were okay. I found like if it had just been like something normal and then singer, I would have been totally cool with it because that's in the old days that's what it was.
Mhm.
Like my name Latimer literally means Latin translator because that's what my ancestors did. So like that's actually a real thing. So I don't have an issue with that. It was just the name America with singer.
So what
that I
did
was like,
Erica's ancestors do? How does that come about?
they just hit a lot.
We just crouched. We just stoop low to the ground.
Hunkered down.
Actually, no, my ancestors, they lived at a cross in a road.
Oh.
Wow.
Apparently. A crow.
Interesting.
C-R-O-U-X.
Oh. Interesting.
So that's what we did. We lived at crosses in
I
roads
prefer
and
to
bent low to the
believe
ground.
that- Yeah, bent low to the ground is what you did.
We were the people who originally came up with the term duck. Crouches know what they're doing.
My
Because really,
ancestors were just Italians who drank a lot.
I was going to say, Erica's last name will never not be bad guys from Harry Potter, so.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
Maybe you'll never live down.
Harry Potter.
Sometimes good guys. We got some. We maybe. It's fine. It's fine. We like our lips a lot.
Well, that's why I
Yeah.
decided that you were going to be awesome when Kelly first told me about you. I freaked out. I was like, her name is Crouch. Oh my god.
My introduction to the group was a simple picture of Barty Crouch.
Junior.
It's so funny because I just watched that Barty Crouch Jr. I watched that Harry Potter last night. Why do I not remember which one? Goblet of Fire?
Goblet of Fire.
Why am I
Yeah.
not surprised that we're talking about Harry Potter right now?
How does this happen?
I watched all of the Harry Potters before I ever watched Doctor Who because I had a late introduction to it. So last night I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's Doctor Who! Oh my god! Like freaking out. My friend's like, you did not know that? It's David Tennant. I was like, yeah no. I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. It happened.
Yeah.
And Mr. Weasley is Rory's dad, which always makes me super happy.
Anytime anybody in Harry Potter makes an appearance on Doctor Who, I'm like, hey, I know you.
So weird. Well, and like Cedric Diggory, I'm like, he was so much better before he was sparkly and constipated looking.
Happier back then.
Yes, he was so much better.
Also,
got
on the topic of the selection, I thought I remembered reading this, and I looked it up to see if I was right. So, the heir, like, she's a twin, so there's actually a twin brother.
Oh.
There's 2 kids.
I'm really
Because I remember
excited.
they did this whole thing where, like, they were, like, announcing the baby's gender and stuff, like, America was pregnant. Because she did, like, a little scene of, like, them at some party where America was pregnant. And then she, like, announced the gender, and it turned out it was twins, a boy and a girl.
So does the boy have a selection as well?
I don't know.
Because that would be drama.
That would be
Because I'm guessing the boy is younger. I'm guessing that
But
the
they're
daughter is
twins.
older.
They're
Well, like, she
twins.
came out first. So she's the heir because she came out first, yeah.
They have to be the same age.
Twins, they come out.
You know the twins don't come out at the exact same time, right?
That would not be.
Also, I really want to read, I don't really care that much about, like, I kind of want to read the Prince novella, but not the Guard one, but I really want to read the Queen novella.
Yeah, I want to
Because I want to, like, read about how
sad
she, like,
I heard
fell in
that.
love with the king, who's, like, so terrible.
He's awful.
I
and
just
she's so
remember
sweet.
the scene, I think it's either in the Elite or the one, where America's brushing the Queen's hair, and then she says something about Mom, and then she's like, I mean, Your Majesty.
Mom will be
She's like,
okay.
she's like, it's you. I'm sure you'll be calling me that soon. I'm like, shut up.
I just was so sad because she didn't get her happy ending.
Yeah.
She didn't get the
Of having a
kids she
daughter.
wanted.
So sad.
What was the Queen's name?
Amberly.
Amberly.
And does the heir have a name?
It is, I was just reading it. It's weird. It's...
Oh, great.
Oh, it's another weird
and
one.
she put how to pronounce it
Canada.
on here, so... It's Eadlin.
It's what?
Eadlin.
Yeah, there's all kind of. It should
You
be
mean England? Is it England?
It's spelled E-A-D-L-Y-N, but it's pronounced Eadlin.
Eadlin.
And, the prince's name
Sounds
is
like
Aaron.
a Utah name.
Aaron.
What?
It's Aaron, but it's spelled A-H-R-E-N.
Oh no.
Of course.
No.
Aaron.
See, that's
Throw
what
up my
when
name, will
he's
you?
just like belabored. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Like, I want this
saying
to
Aaron,
be.
A-A-R-O-N, like, and it's like, no, this has to be special. I want this to be
Weird.
I'm gonna make that Aaron.
Although, with the way that our society is going with baby names, I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah.
100 years from now it was like that.
Oh,
When I was
People
a
are all like,
teenager,
how can I weirdly spell my child's name?
when I was a teenager, I insisted on people spelling it A-R-I-N because I thought it was like mystical and stuff. Yeah,
was mystical.
not very mystical.
So mystical. A mysticalist.
Except I like how I was noticing,
I like
I
that
was like
word.
realizing the other day that in a lot of like fantasy worlds, you always have all these like interesting names, and there's always someone named Sam. Like,
Yeah.
randomly named Sam.
I've got one of those.
Saruman and Sauron and Sam.
Sam. And then there's like Selena and Chow, however you pronounce it, and Dorian and Sam.
Yeah.
See, I've got one of
Bob.
those names, and it's like there are a bunch of like biblical names, and then there's one just like regular name, and it's like, but it's on purpose. It's with forethought.
You introduce them all, and then
always
there's
shows up in
Joe.
fantasy world.
Yeah, and then there's like, I know it doesn't really fit in with everybody else, but
On purpose.
Because all the angel and demon names are hard to pronounce.
I can pronounce all of them now, or at least
As real
my version of them. I've got them all in my head.
I probably know how to pronounce them all from intensive Bible camp training.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Oh, and also the Air comes out May 5th, 2015.
Ooh.
Oh, that's relatively soon.
Oh, that's not that far away. Yay, I'm excited.
And apparently it'll be explained why she's having a selection when the princesses usually don't have selections. So, there'll be
Does
like
it
a
have to
reason
be
for it.
even? Dang it.
For
Are they
real,
selling
not
her
just sell her
brother
off.
off?
Let her have
Yeah.
Is her brother sick? Is he dying?
Oh.
I'm curious to see. Like the
You're
twin
already
makes it more
tearing up.
interesting.
I'm
Can't
not
handle
ready to
sibling
be
death.
sad. Don't tell me that he's
Kill
going to be
anyone
sad.
but the sibling.
All right, so quick cover up. We're going to talk about the pros and then the cons of the series, and we'll wrap it up. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Pro. Who wants to go first?
Microtension.
Oh, yeah.
All the
So
kissing
much.
and the...
That's what I was going to say.
Kimberly and
Pro.
May.
Amberly. Pro. The girl power.
Yeah.
Girl power.
Friendship.
Pro. If you like romance and fluffy
Yeah,
romance.
lots of romance.
Mm-hmm.
And kissing.
Lots of flippy.
The actual selection element was a pro for me, like the interviews and
Yeah.
It was fun.
I love
Yeah,
the
that was
public.
really cool.
It was like a fun
Public
version. Like
involvement.
at the Hunger Games, I feel like I can't enjoy it because it's awful, but it was like something I could actually enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nicer version of it.
Guilty
so kind of like,
pleasure.
Like
Not
I can
really
enjoy
guilty,
what you're
just
going through and not feel
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I liked that the Northern Rebels were led by the Ilea line. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was cool. Another pro.
that was a clever pullback.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Circle
Yeah.
back.
And
Yeah.
another pro is that I actually really liked the character of America. She was cool.
Yeah.
She wasn't one of the,
was,
she
like,
wasn't really
hardcore.
super whiny or anything. I liked
And I love
that.
that she wasn't afraid to cry. Like, she cried kind of a lot. And
Yeah.
like, you don't see that very
And I'm
often.
like, I would cry in those situations.
I would too. That's why I wasn't annoyed with her. I get really annoyed with characters that are like really whiny or cry a lot. But in her case, I wanted to be angry and cry with her, so I wasn't annoyed.
She was also
So
like
that's another
very
pro.
outspoken at times and kind of like
Yeah. I like that she stood up to the king like
Yeah.
multiple times.
Like the sentencing thing she didn't do.
That was very clever. I liked that. I didn't
That
even
was,
think about that.
that might have been my favorite.
That was
in
one
the
of my
one.
favorites for sure. I loved it.
and also pro, you can read through these books so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In like 3
Not like
days.
300 some pages.
I read
And
in
they
like 36 hours. They're
Yeah.
all done. And I was
And they
looking
have
on them, like,
beautiful covers, even though I complain about girls in ball gowns thing, but they are pretty.
How pretty these are. So
They are pretty.
And accurate to the story, unlike most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually true. Yeah.
This actually gives you a taste of what the book is like.
It
There's a
does.
part where she's in a red dress, and I was like, oh, maybe it looked like the one on the cover.
And she
Yeah.
likes the blue dresses, so there's that. So they're
I liked
accurate
the
covers.
one where she wore the red dress and then Celestia's on that. No, because everyone starts trying to dress like her. I like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like stuff like
Maybe
that.
Maxon just likes her because he likes the color blue. I'll wear blue. This is a blue
I'll wear
color.
blue. Logic, right?
Color psychology. You got it. Also, pro, Kiera Cass is super awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's reason enough for me to read a book. If I like the
Yeah.
author, I'll give any book a try. Whereas,
For
like,
sure.
if I hate an author, even if they write a really great book, I'm like, oh, out of principle, no way, dude.
Yeah.
No way.
Kiera Cass actually has a really awesome YouTube channel, if anyone hasn't seen that yet, and
She
she's
like
really
dresses up as the
funny.
characters.
Yeah.
And
It's really a funny YouTube channel, so subscribe if you haven't. It's amazing.
And I thought it was cool, too, that, I don't know if you guys read the acknowledgments, but that's, like, my favorite part of the book.
I read that.
I love
Yeah.
it.
But how she had, like, fans who, like, made videos or something, and she used, like, a name from people who made videos. Like,
In
there was
the
always
story?
one. Yeah, there was, like, always, I don't know how she did it, but there was, like, a contest, and someone won the contest, and their name got to be in the book.
Like as a character?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Cool.
That
Yeah.
is Cool. I'm looking for it now.
I love
That's like,
the,
and thanks for making an awesome video and letting me use your name.
I can't remember which acknowledgments it was in, but when she's like, "Good job, readers! Like, put your hand on the paper and get a high five."
Yeah,
That's so
See,
cute.
here's one in the one to Georgia Whitaker for making a really rad video and earning her name a spot in the book. Thanks for letting me borrow it.
Georgia. Was there a Georgia in the book?
Yeah.
She also
one?
had really
Who was she?
She was
one of the
Terrible.
rebels, wasn't she? The
Yeah,
she
was the
that's
girl
so
rebel who-
Cool. Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
That's
I
very
also liked
cool.
all of her acknowledgments, or not acknowledgments, the dedications.
Oh,
Yeah,
hi, Dad.
Although the last one in the one where it's for Calloway, the boy who climbed into my treehouse in my heart and let me be the crown on his. I was like, wait, does that mean that Aspen it's a win?
I think that was deliberate.
It freaked
What?
me out. I was like, no. I thought it meant that she chose Aspen at the end because she was
She
like
melded both. It was like for the boy who climbed the treehouse in my heart and let me be the crown on his.
Yeah, I got very nervous though. I was like,
I think that was deliberate, like to make people nervous.
but I think it does.
That's cute.
All right, now that we've listed all the lovely, lovely prose of these books, which, by the way, we recommend.
We
4
do.
stars across the board is pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the highest consistent rating that we've all given.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Usually it's
much
like 5 stars.
Although if Kaylin had been
Yeah.
here, it might have.
Might have
Yeah,
been lower,
Kaylin
yeah.
probably would have been the anomaly.
Yeah.
Seemed to really
As much as like I did have a lot of problems with it, I would definitely recommend it to people.
yeah, especially like reluctant readers. I would say
Totally.
the
Yeah.
first book.
Oh yeah, cool.
Huge. Yeah.
You just have to read it for what it is. It's a great book, but if you're going into it expecting some really like
Don't expect Shakespeare. That's all.
high literature,
Yeah.
multi-level thinker book, this isn't your thing.
If you
Yeah.
just read
But
that,
it's
you're
not-
not my kind of person anyway.
Yeah. Me too. Thank you. Honestly,
It's
I
fun
don't
to read
want
fun
that sometimes.
books. Read
Yeah,
fun
exactly.
books.
Read
Get
fun books
happy.
and read serious books.
Exactly.
Don't hate on anyone.
Yeah.
Read what you all read and read them all.
And
Honestly-
I'll probably read We Were Liars, because that's our
Yeah.
next book club.
Yeah.
Our next book club.
We gotta list the cons first before we sign
Oh
off.
yeah. Probably should have done the pros first. I mean, after.
Well, like I think the cons aren't like terrible. It's just things
Yeah,
like
true.
tasting, the issue of communications, and the will they, won't they, 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 will they, won't they for.
Never.
But,
Yeah,
you
and then
know.
I had an issue with the end that I felt left me dangling, but that might be resolved in the next series. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that the end also kind of speaks to the fact that like this was definitely primarily a romance. That like,
Yeah.
I feel like all the rebel stuff needed, like a big revolution needed to happen and be resolved because it was about the romance. It was about
Which is probably like I honestly don't read a lot of mainly romance, so that's probably why I had an issue with the dangling plot ends of the rebel thing because I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that side of the story. So
Yeah, I love
for
it.
people that are
Ate it up.
yeah.
My only real problem with the end was that it was so fast. Like everything happened all at once.
Yeah.
I liked the epilogue, but I wanted more after the epilogue of them specifically. So I'm not like, I'll read the air, but I really want to read more about just them.
But I think we will. I think we'll
Happy
hear
for a
about
tiny
America too. Like not necessarily from her point of view, but we'll learn what happened to them and how they're doing. So.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It'll be cool to see them like from someone else's perspective. I think.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
cool.
There's another short story as well. This is kind of off topic as well. There's going to be a Marley one, I think, The Favorite,
Yeah.
because they're going to put it in
Favorite,
another
oh.
book.
Interesting.
I'm not loving that title.
No, me neither.
But I would want to read that.
Because they
I
put
don't
the
know
two
if I
blind
love
books
it or
in a
not.
whole
The
book.
titles I'll list as another con. I like the selection. Like, that makes sense for the series, but I think it gives away too much what
The
happened.
one in particular does. Like the Elite, like it's pretty obvious that there's 3 books she's probably going to stay in this competition for a while.
Yeah.
Like
I
so
think
I
if
get
they had
kicked out at the very
if
beginning.
they had gone away from that and done something slightly more abstract with the title and less like on the nose of where she is in it would have been a little better. But titles aren't something that the author can pick unless they're self-published. But usually the publishers.
And I
like
guess
this.
also the one could have been somebody that wasn't her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Or
mad
maybe it
when
wasn't
she
just
came up
her,
with
it
these
was other people
titles,
too.
though. I feel like these titles were fairly self-explanatory, and that the author could have come up with them, and the publisher would have been like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That
legit."
works.
I really like the cover for The Air, just saying, because I'm looking at it on Goodreads right now.
Really?
It's
I'm gonna have to
similar-
look it up after this.
Yeah.
It's
same.
similar to, it's obviously the same series, but the color scheme is different.
Yes. It's obviously the same series, but it's obviously a different girl. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Have the same girl all through those.
I really didn't have a problem with the titles, like even the last one, because I kind of knew it was going to happen. I just wanted to know how it was going to happen. So I didn't really have an issue with the titles. I didn't think they gave anything away for me. So I just expected it to happen the way it did anyways.
It is relatively predictable, which could be a con, but also...
Yeah.
I didn't mind. Like, it was just...
I didn't mind either. I just wanted to know how it would happen.
It wouldn't be sad. The series wouldn't be sad as well with me if they had thrown in a major twist at the end.
Yeah,
it doesn't
true.
work with these books.
I think it would have made a lot of readers really angry if she had ended up with someone else.
Yeah. I would have been
It would have been
angry.
another
Very
diverting thing.
So
I think my biggest con was just that those twists that I thought would have been really cool and in keeping with the book, they weren't there.
The biggest con is that we didn't write it or beta read it or change all the...
That we didn't have this idea and write this amazing series the way we wanted it.
That's a con for me, yes.
Yeah.
Gosh, why didn't I write this New York Times best-selling novel?
Obviously, it's safe to say that all the word nerds quite enjoyed this series.
Yes.
I mean,
Absolutely.
4s across the board. Quick reads. Most of us read them in just a couple of days. If you haven't read it, we spoiled it for you, so I apologize. But
A lot.
it is still great to read, even knowing, I don't know how, if you haven't read it by now, just read it. Go read it anyway. It's still a lot of fun. I'll probably reread these books, even knowing what they'll happen. What happens.
I think
is
so.
still, I mean,
I want to reread them just to find out why I couldn't put the things down. Like, there's just so much microtension in
I
there. I
told
want
you
to like
that's the only
replicate that.
reason I didn't put it down is I kept waiting for them to get together, and I'm like, I'm not going to put it down until I have a happy moment.
I definitely think the microtension was also between the girls too, though.
Oh, yeah.
And that was huge for me, why I kept flipping, and the rebels as well, and the reaction of the people to the girls. So there's a lot, like Kelly said, a lot of microtension. So it was a huge plus for me.
I only said microtension because I knew you were going to say it anyway.
You stole it out of my mouth.
So the selection, the elite, the one. This concludes our wonderful book club about the selection series by Kiera Cass. Next month, we are going to do the book We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Please, 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 please read this book now. You do not want to get spoiled because it's the ending that makes this book. There will be huge disclaimers, large everywhere when we do this chat because we don't want to ruin it for anybody.
It's like 200 pages.
It's
so even if you're busy, you have time for this book.
It's quick. It's a great read. It's unlike anything I've ever read before. I can't even properly define the genre, and if you do properly define it, maybe
you're spoiling.
Yeah. So you can
Interesting.
just read it. And we will talk to you guys next month at the end of, in 2015.
January 25th.
You guys. We will talk to you nerds later. Have a great week and Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year!
Bye.